Hey, this is Donnie Smith, and we're going to show you, continue on this. Now, we took the stripe off, in a previous video, and then we clay barred it, and then we, washed it real good, buffed it, brought some of the shine back. Now, what we're going to do today, we're just going to put a little stripe on here. Not nothing real, complicated or anything, just a real basic stripe. Just kind of show you how to do that, and we're going to lay it out. What you're going to need to do that is you're going to need some fine line tape. You're going to need something to wipe it with, because you need to make sure there's no wax and greases whatsoever. So we're going to use some wax and grease remover, and then we're going to need a razor blade to cut our lines when we get to doing that. And you'll also need some 3/4 inch masking tape, and then of course some masking paper later. But we'll go ahead and get started laying out this stripe. It'll come together pretty fast because we're not doing anything real complicated on this. So we're ready to get it out to the lake. Boys get out of school Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? Mm-hmm. Get out of school Wednesday, so we want to be ready. And when you're laying this stripe, one thing I want to mention is you don't want to do it, just a little bit at a time and try to get it like that. You might get it crooked. It's always best to have a starting point. Get stuck down. Have a starting point. Pull it back a little bit where you can step back and you can kind of guide as you go. So if you want to go up, you can. If you want to go down, you can. You're kind of sticking it as you go. Or if you want it straight. It's harder to do that right there by it. Okay, we're just going to lay a basic little stripe across here. Go down there. But first, we got to wax it up. Hit it with some wax and grease remover. I guess it's kind of a good thing the boat wasn't ready today. Wind's blowing. So that'd kind of be bad to have it ready and then not be able to go out because of the wind. Now we've got a nice clean surface to work with. Okay, the top point I'm just going to kind of go straight, make a straight line, kind of get narrower at the top and go all the way to the back. Got my starting point, I'm going to pull it back. And another thing, you don't want to pull this tape's kind of stretchy, but you don't want to pull it too tight when you're laying it down, because if you do, it'll shrink back up some whenever you don't want it to. It'll start shrinking back up, and around your curves and things like that, it might peel around the corners. So you want to give a little tension, but not too tight. If you don't like it, just pull back and start over. We'll get a little narrower here in the back. Okay, the stripe just kind of comes straight, bows up just a little bit, and then back down. Just a basic design for the top. Now, one thing, whenever you're putting this down, you don't want to immediately come and start pushing and rubbing it down, because that might mess the tape up. It may not be stuck real good. So what I'm going to kind of do is kind of tap it down, make sure I don't move the tape. Then I'll come back and rub real hard to make sure it is, good, so no paint will get underneath the tape. Okay, now it's stuck down real good. We'll work on the bottom. and then taper into a wider stripe. Do the same thing. Pull it back and gradually get wider. Okay, we kind of got a basic outline laid out. Got it pushed down. Now what we're going to do, we're going to do a little bit more to the bottom, give it just a little bit more design. We're kind of going to use this, why don't you come over here. We're just going to kind of use this basic shape here for our design. We're going to kind of keep that angle. We're going to go a little bit wider here and in the front of the glass and then come back up. So some of this bottom stripe will actually, we're not going to use. We just wanted to use it for a layout first. So in order to keep that same design, that same angle, I'm just going to start it here. Just come straight down, something like that. Okay, we're going to come back about 2 inches. Use that angle. We're going to come down about 2 inches. And that's one we're going to use for that. We're going to come down about the same amount of the stripe there. Kind of divide it. So we got about that much area there, this much here. And now we're just going to bring the stripe and come back up to the same point here. And we're just doing something easy, something to be easy to match on both sides. We're kind of keeping the angles and locations similar. And we're going to keep the same angle. And we're going to do the same thing up here, but not quite as wide on the bottom stripe. So we've got that angle like that. In front of this windshield, we're going to come down. See if our angle's about right. Is it? We need to be a little bit more. A little bit more angle. Kind of keep that same shape there. Now we're going to go about half the distance as the top. We've got about this wide here. We're going to kind of divide that. We're going to do about that much. We'll come down about, looks like about 3/4 of an inch. And then we'll meet it right here before it gets to this point. Okay, now we're going to get a razor blade and cut the parts of the stripe off that we're not going to use. And one thing with the razor blade, you don't want to slice on your paint. You just want to hold it down on there, push down on the tape, and just pull your tape up. That way you don't have slice marks in your paint that you don't want. Pull this one out. Right back where that other one went. Like that. Okay, we kind of got the outline like we want it. And the only thing we're going to do now is, so these ain't such sharp edges. I mean, you can have them sharp if you want to, but we're going to round these just a little bit. Have just a little bit of a rounded edge to it. So I'm going to push them down with my finger. I'm going to come down. Just like that. I'll have to cut that edge off, and then the same thing over here. And I'm trimming here. So we've got a little bit rounded there, just barely rounded there. Just to have it where they such a sharp point. You could leave them sharp if you want to. You know, that's just kind of preference. Now what I'm going to do is just get some 3/4 inch and outline this so it'll give me something more to mask to. So I'm just going to go around this outline with 3/4 inch masking tape. And you want to make sure, once you get up here close, when you're putting this on, you don't want it to overlap over your fine line tape. But then you also don't want a real fine line between that either, or else paint will get on the paint surface, which you don't want. So you just want to put it about right in the middle of this, all the way around. Now what I'm going to do is we've got it masked off, outlined all the way around. Now you want to make sure that the paint sticks, that it adheres good. So what I want to do, I've got a piece of 400, wet or dry. I'm going to use just a little bit of water, and I'm going to sand inside that stripe. Now you don't want to sand your tape line off, but you want to lightly sand in there to make sure you got proper adhesion. I'm just going to lightly go around the entire inside of this stripe. And then I'll come back with a red scuff pad and just make sure, you know, that I got it. Now what you don't want to do when you're scuffing is to have it where it's overlapping, hit the boat, because it's scratch your paint. You're not going to be painting there. Same thing with your sandpaper. You want to only sand inside this stripe area. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take some masking paper and mask from here down. You want to mask plenty good so you don't get overspray on anything. We'll mask that off to where all that's exposed is this stripe. And then we're going to put some base coat on it, and we're going to put some clear coat on it. Right around in here, I think we're going to paint the stripe red. We're going to just put a little bit of blue pearl, just kind of highlight it here and there and in the front. And then we're going to do a little design. We're going to follow the exact same steps. We're going to do a little design down here. Not going to go through all that because you just kind of follow the exact same steps I just did here. But we're going to go ahead and do all that. We're going to sand it, clean it with wax and grease remover real good, wipe it down, make sure it's dry, mask it off, spray your base paint, your base coat, clear coat, unmask. And one more thing I want to mention though, normally you'd want to clear coat the whole panel, but since we're doing just this stripe, you want to be able to, as soon as you're done with that last coat of clear coat, you got to be careful that you don't touch the clear, but you want to peel this line off. That way you don't have troubles. If you let this dry and try to peel it off, it may bridge on the tape and have a problem not making a straight line, kind of a jagged edge. So as soon as you put the last coat on, immediately, you probably want to get someone to help you so the tape don't fall in the stripe or anything. Come back and just take you're going to want that blue line and mask tape at the same time. Just pull it away from the paint, making sure it doesn't touch the paint. And that'll also make a lot more soft edge for you. And so anyway, we'll go ahead and do that, and we'll show you the end result. But that kind of covers the steps to how to prepare it, get it ready. And if you're interested in more spraying videos, I have a lot of those. I'm not going to go through all that here, but I'll put one if you want some spraying basics. Just look down in the description. I'll put a link for you where we talk more about spraying and painting and some techniques for that. So, but anyway, that pretty well wraps up this video. We'll talk to you next time.